Fangoria Radio, uncut and uncensored. We know what scares you, and so does your host, D. Snider.
I'm not so sure it's a good idea, Debbie.
What? What's not a good idea?
Giving horror fans a forum, a 3-hour radio show every week where they can gather, listen on satellite from all over America, all over the world. Horror has wallowed in virtual obscurity, yet been a force, a driving force in the entertainment industry, but it's thrived in the lack of attention it's gotten. Now I kind of remember the movie The Warriors?
Yes, I love that movie.
The Warriors, right?
Oh.
You remember the riffs? Cyrus was gathering all of the gangs together in Central Park. Can you count, suckers? I say the future is ours if you can count. That's what we're doing. We're gathering all the horror fans every week for 3 hours, and we'll be uniting them. And that's why I wonder if the possibilities are endless. We could virtually take over. I mean, look at the power horror has had throughout the decades in the entertainment industry. The biggest selling books are horror books. The biggest films are horror films. Studios have built their empires on horror, yet quickly reject it the minute they get any notoriety. You know, now they got to make movies that nobody cares to see but win Oscars. You know, now we got Lionsgate. They're the horror icon today, making the greatest horror pictures you watch. Pretty soon they'll have Gwyneth Paltrow starring in some Shakespearean movie that nobody's going to give two craps about, and abandon horror, and that's the way it's always been. But now Fangoria Radio will be on the air on Sirius 120 every week for 3 hours. And we'll be able to talk at length about what's going on, promote what's going on, really reach people and let them know what's going on with the world that they're most interested in. And whether it's movies, old movies, new movies, books, television shows, music, clothes, peripheral horror things like the paranormal. All under one roof, Fangoria Radio? It's just too much. I may just explode. I'll spontaneously combust with pure joy at the end of the show tonight. Well, that's what it's all about, folks. That's what you're tuned into. Fangoria Radio, our time has arrived. They've given us the steering wheel, and I ain't giving it back. I'm D. Snider with my intrepid co-host, Scream Queen Debbie Rochon. How you doing, Debbie?
I'm doing great.
Can you dig it?
Can you dig it? Whatever happened to that guy? Surprised he didn't go on to do bigger movies.
He was awesome. He was so awesome.
So, yes, this is Fangoria Radio, and Fangoria Radio is, it's an outgrowth, an offshoot of Fangoria Magazine, and you horror fans, of course, know the biggest, I don't know if it's the longest existing, but certainly the most important horror magazine, Fangoria Magazine. And basically, Fangoria Magazine has been doing for years what this show will venture to do each week, and that is provide you with all the information you'd ever want on the world of horror. So each week we'll be doing this. And by the way, we do have a phone number. I've got to give that out to you. It's 1-800-FANGORIA.
That's easy.
That's really easy, unless you can't spell Fangoria. Okay, that's F-A. I'm not going to spell it for you. Just sit there and just figure it out for yourself. Fangoria, okay? It's as simple as that. We got an email address, fangoriaradio.com. It doesn't get more simple than that. Now, we've got a great show. We got a lot to get to in this first break, and most importantly. But, Debbie, what do we got to look forward to in the next 3 hours?
You wouldn't believe it, Dee. This is truly amazing. We have an incredible psychic medium by the name of Angelina Diana.
Now, wait a minute. She's not one of these huggy, kissy, feel-good mediums, because not that I'm not a negative guy. Really, I'm a very positive person, but that's not the real world. And I find that a lot of these mediums, a lot of these psychics, I'm not a bad news person, but sometimes, it's not all roses, So will she be honest?
She'll be extremely honest, and I think she was dreaming about you last night, as a matter of fact.
I'll be leaving for that segment, and Debbie will be getting scrutinized
But it's actually very interesting because she's going to talk about poltergeists, like real-life poltergeists, which ties into one of the movies we'll be discussing.
That's right. What movie is that?
An American Haunting, of course.
Yes, I got to talk to Donald Sutherland and the director, Courtney Solomon, which we'll be getting to in just a little bit. And I've got an interesting story to tell you about my pre-interview moment with Donald. But continue. What else do we have going on? The Donald.
We have the real Donald.
In our world, he's the Donald.
Yes, he is. We have the one and only Fangoria editor, Tony Timpone, and he's going to give us a wonderful news segment. What's going on in the world of Fangoria magazine?
And really, nobody knows better than Tony. He is really like, I'm just a puppet. Like right now, Tony's hand is literally up my
rear end.
I was going to say back. And he's manipulating me right now.
And he's smiling, too.
Yes, so it's because this has got to be a dream come true for Tony. What's going on with Fangoria, the empire that's being created, Fangoria TV, also, we're being filmed right now. So, that's starting to happen, too. So, continue.
We also have somebody that you know, Adam Green, director of Hatchet.
With Adam Green's story, yeah, it's very interesting. Hatchet is a movie that's, we just saw actually in Tribeca. An old school horror film, but from a new writer, a new director. And we have an interesting history, which we'll tell you about as well. He's a fan of mine, and, well, we'll get into that later.
We also have the truly amazing Voltaire, who is a specialist in the goth world.
Okay, why is he amazing?
Because
besides the name.
He lives it, breathes it, writes about it, sings about it, and acts it out on a daily basis. So that's pretty amazing.
I'm not going to need a taser or anything like that when he comes in the room, will I?
You might.
Voltaire! Pull! Okay.
You'll recognize him because he'll have a black sweater with a white skull on it. So you would definitely recognize him.
Okay, and which doesn't blend in with what we're wearing. I see you've got your skulls. Who's got more skulls on? Well, you've got the skull print. I got the skull, and I've got the skull earrings also.
Right.
Yes, well, it's required.
Okay, so we'll all be the same.
And where do people see Tony Timpone? He has no skin on his head. It's just a skull because he is the editor-in-chief of Fangoria, and you've never seen a more evil, satanic-looking person than Tony Timpone. Seriously. He is the Dark Lord. And he'll be... And when he speaks, it's like, oh, I'm Tony Timpone from Fangoria. It's amazing.
But he smiles like the devil.
Yes, of course.
He?
Well, wouldn't the devil always smile? How else would he get people to join?
Exactly. Great smile. Then we have Darren Miller of the band CKY. Camp Kill Yourself.
See? The name, Camp Kill Yourself, Horror Connection. So many of these bands are horror fans, as I was, coming from the Twisted Sister background, so much of what I grew up on. And Debbie, we really didn't even speak of your history. I mean, people know you. You're a scream queen. But for those who may be uninformed, just tell them some of the things you've done.
Well, the brief story is I've made about 130 horror movies. I've co-written 2 books. I write for genre magazines all over the world. And I live, breathe, walk, talk, and eat horror pretty much.
When she
and
says
I'm sitting
live,
beside Dee Snider, which is like
yes.
the ultimate.
But wait. I get to hang out with Debbie. I said, we're going to be working together, Deb. Tell me a little bit about yourself. When she got done with a brief history of Debbie Rochon, and I'm not talking about her movie history, my jaw was on the floor, and I was like, I got nothing compared to this girl's life. But I don't even know what to say. I was blown away by your history, and we'll get into that in future shows.
Yes, we will.
Because that's interesting.
And then, to cap it all off, we have Jackie Burnett, who is also a psychic, but she's going to be talking about seances.
And there's going to be a cat fight between the medium and the psychic.
Yeah, it could be. But
Yeah.
that's where we sort of, distanced them
Right.
to keep some space in
No,
between.
but I want to bring them in and the Jello, the tub with the Jello, we'll have a Jello fight between the two of them at the end of the show. Just to wrap things up, because this is Sirius, Channel 120, so we can get away with things you can't get away with on terrestrial radio.
Absolutely.
Not that I'm all about dropping the F-bomb. This is Fangoria Radio. It's all about horror. And right now, let's get to a great interview I did with Donald Sutherland. And this is for American Haunting, his new movie that came out. I got first time to meet Donald. Actually, is Donald Pleasant still alive or he died?
He died.
Okay, so he won't be complaining.
No.
That we're calling Sutherland the Donald. And I walk in the room, and Sutherland, I mean, he's pretty imposing, not in a negative way. He's a big guy, well-tanned, white hair, handsome guy, wearing a really expensive, like Armani suit, really beautiful. And he's brushing his teeth. Now, we're not in a bathroom. We're in the room where we're shooting, and he's sitting in his seat. Cameras are on, and I say, "Hey, Donald, how you doing?" And he's like, "Mm." And he's brushing his teeth, and he's holding the box that the toothpaste came in, and I don't know why he's holding the box like it's his firstborn child. So he's brushing his teeth, and he finishes brushing. He looks around, and he goes, and he spits
In the box.
in the box and hands it to his assistant. This could have just been a person whose sole job was to take his spit boxes. I'm not sure, because he is the Donald.
Yes.
So unfortunately, cameras weren't rolling for that, because that was awesome. And I say, man, I want to be just so big and famous that people will like take my spit box from me, just like, here. Would you do that for me, Debbie?
I would. And I'm actually happy to hear the story, because now I know what the box is for. It's to spit in. I did not know that.
It's a very, well, apparently toothpaste boxes came in spittoons originally. It was larger,
That's right.
And they've gotten smaller over the years, and it's a lost fact few people know. So right now, let's go right to my interview with Donald Sutherland on the new movie, American Haunting. So, American Haunting, saw it, really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Do you consider it to be a horror film?
Well, I was pretty horrified by it, like as it is. I mean, it scared the living bejesus out of me. My wife dug her nails into my hand. So, and I when I made it with Courtney, I had thought of it as a psychological film. I thought of it as a there's a poltergeist in it for sure.
Yeah.
And Courtney said it's going to be scaring, but for me filming it, it had to do with the relationship with Sissy, the relationship with Rachel, and with the community, and so it was it was quite profound. It echoed back to a film I did ages ago with called Benefit of the Doubt, and stuff I'd looked at on Oprah Winfrey. So,
well, certainly, if the spectrum of horror, it's down here with The Exorcist and The Omen and films of that nature, as opposed to Bride of Chucky down all the way far, far at the other end.
I missed the Bride of Chucky series, so I can't.
Yeah, it's okay. But I mean, you've done horror films throughout your career. I mean, I didn't even realize you were in Dr. Terror's House of Horrors, a movie that scared the bejesus out of me when I first saw it. And it has an ongoing appeal. Through the decades, through the centuries, horror has such an appeal. Why do you think it has that appeal, constant appeal to the audiences?
Because people love to be scared when they know they're not going to die. It's how it works, you know. It's if you've got somebody coming at you with a knife in a back alley, it's horrifying, but it's not pleasurable. But if you when they did the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers,
right,
they were thrilled. Don Siegel and Kevin McCarthy. They came back. They'd gone down to Long Beach with a Webcore wire recorder and recorded the audience's reactions. And they'd come back, and what the audience laughed, screamed, laughed, screamed, laughed, screamed, and they brought it back to Allied Artists and said, "Look, we're so thrilled. This is going to be a great." And Allied Artists listened to it and said, "What are those laughs? Get them out of there." And they made them cut most of the laughs. But what's wonderful about it is if you can laugh and scream and laugh and scream, it's kind of like making love.
Well, I think in a lot of those films, people laugh at sometimes inappropriate times. It's almost a release from the scare. Like,
absolutely, it's a release. Of course it is. That's what it's all about. That's what I meant about being scared, the security being scared to death with knowing that you're not going to die.
Well, enjoyed the film. I've enjoyed your work.
Thank you.
And thank you for your time, Don. I appreciate it. You see, now that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's where you say, what the hell are you talking about, D? No. But I asked them if it was a horror film, and they try to, I was attracted to it because of the relationship between Sissy and myself and the effect it had on that. That's bullcrap. Horror films were in vogue. He was offered tens of millions of dollars to be in the damn movie, and he said, great. I mean, I'm not saying he didn't look at the script or whatever, but they always try to legitimize it, and it doesn't need, you don't got to make excuses for horror. It's okay to enjoy it. And whether it is The Bride of Chucky or it is Omen or The Exorcist, it's okay. You don't have to make excuses for horror. And as a matter of fact, we're going to talk more about An American Haunting in just a little bit. And we'll be taking some phone calls, too. The phone number is easy. It's 1-800-FANGORIA. I'm Dee Snider with Debbie Rochon on Fangoria Radio, Sirius Channel 120. We'll be back with an interview with Courtney Solomon, the director of An American Haunting. Stick around.
I met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face and the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
You're gonna burn in hell.
Welcome back to Fangoria Radio on Sirius Channel 120. I am Dee Snider with Debbie Rochon. And Fangoria Radio, if you're just tuning in, it's all about horror, okay? Something I love, something Debbie loves. And if you're listening and you haven't tuned out by now, probably something you love. Rejoice! We have a home. We had Fangoria Magazine. Now we have Fangoria Radio every Sunday night, 9 to midnight on Sirius Channel 120. It's all about us, all about our world. Now, we're talking about An American Haunting. And the movie, Debbie, you saw the film as well.
Uh-huh.
And it was a horror film, maybe classed up with Sissy Spacek and, a couple Academy Award nominations in there. But it was a horror film, but what was really interesting was based on a true story and set in the early 1800s, which gave it a little bit of a different vibe than some of the other movies. And in particular, the thing that the story is built on is that it's the only not documented case, but where the documented case of death by poltergeist, by spirit. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, we'll talk to some of our poltergeist experts a little later in the show about that. And I got a chance to talk to the director, Courtney Solomon, who, it's interesting because he only has one other movie, Dungeons and Dragons.
Did you see that?
No, I missed that one. Did you see it?
No, I did not.
Somehow it slipped through the cracks. Apparently, it slipped through a lot of cracks because it really wasn't too well received. It's odd who Hollywood gives the controls of a big budget picture to. But Courtney was interesting to talk to. Let's check out and hear what he has to say. Do you consider An American Haunting to be a horror film?
I consider it to be a supernatural thriller / horror. There's some scares in it, no question about it, and there's some jolts and jumps. It's much more than that, though. It's much more of a supernatural thriller to me that, has a twist to it and makes you think. It's more terrifying that it is based on true events and could have actually happened, and there's a lot of evidence to say something happened in Adams.
Well, that's a great appeal about the film. When you see that at the beginning, it's great. And definitely within the spectrum of horror, with your Exorcist over here and your Chucky over there, you're leaning way over here to the Omens of the Exorcist, which is great. What do you think is the well? First of all, obviously you're a horror fan.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean that's your past.
I wouldn't be doing this.
Do you enjoy slasher films? Do you enjoy
Absolutely.
that kind of stuff?
Oh yeah, of course I enjoy a slasher. Hey, Bride of Chucky is constantly on pay TV, okay, all the time. I'm eating dinner around the time that it's on. I can watch Bride and Chucky over and over again. I have a good time with Bride of Chucky.
And digest my food.
Absolutely.
I got no problem with that.
I love when the glass shatters and, falls on the nice honeymoon couple. I think that's awesome.
So what do you think is, obviously there's a resurgence right now
in
the film industry with horror. What do you think is the ongoing appeal? You go back to books, forever, people like horror. What is it?
I think people like to be scared, don't they? And I think that we all have some innate fears in us, don't we? And, we've been told stories as kids. We all get goosebumps on our necks at certain times. I think that's what you want, is people want to go and be scared. And I think it's fantastic that there's a resurgence. And one thing that makes me happy about our film is, like you said, it goes onto this side of the spectrum. So it's not just giving you the same thing every week. Now we have something else to look at. And I'd like to see more of that in the genre. I'd like to see, now that it has a resurgence and there's an audience, so the studios will get behind making these films, I'd like to see a diversity of them so that we can enjoy a full spectrum of them, right on that side, and all the way through the middle.
How was the material presented to you? Were you sought
I found
out?
it.
So you found
I
it?
found it on Amazon. I was looking for something in the genre, and Brent Monahan's book had just come out, and so I just, read the reader reviews, and they said that it was good, and I knew nothing about The Bell Witch, and I read the book, and I was like, wow.
Did you write the film just from the book, or did you go back and do further research?
I did research. I read most of the books actually written all the way around to the original Ingram book written on this legend. There's 20 books written on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I went to Adams and actually scouted and just wanted to have a feel for the place. And I'll tell you, there is something creepy in Adams, Tennessee. It's a very creepy place. We've been putting out these little things on the internet. We send a crew down there to show people Adams really exists, and the people there live and believe about this legend.
Well, that's the next question I was going to ask you. When you got there, did you run into this ongoing belief in that this event really did happen and that this force is still there, or still
100%. I mean, and I screened the film, I'll tell you a story, in Nashville a week and a half ago. That's where I first showed this U.S. cut of the film, which is different than the one that was put out in the U.K. I also went and recut this whole film after I had some initial reaction to make it even better. And so I did the thing, and doing the Q&A, 500 people in Nashville, this is their story, and the great-great-grandson of John Bell is 2 rows in the second row and stands up.
Okay.
Yeah, no kidding. I had no idea he was there. Whole roll of the Bell family there, okay?
With their guns and pitchforks.
Well, that's exactly it, because you know how our movie ends. So I was like, oh my God. Actually, I said something worse than that, but I probably can't say it here. So he stands up. Everybody in the theater claps for him because they all know who he is. I'm in Nashville, okay?
Right.
I mean, James Darcy is with me. He's from England. He looks like he's about to faint. He thinks he's going to get, mauled in the South or something like that. I don't know what. Okay, it was funny. Then there's a big silence after this clapping, and then the guy says he loved the movie. It was exactly how he envisioned this legend growing up with it. He validated it, standing ovation from the people in Nashville after that, and he appreciated.
A little chill there. That was great.
Yeah, it was a moment. It was after all the work. It was great. I mean, first it was a scary moment, then it was a gratifying moment, and then I just felt, well, that's okay. He thanked me for putting the card on the end that said that it's essentially an unsolved mystery. This is just one take on what might have caused it. And he was very appreciative that I had done that.
Well, thanks for your time. Good luck with the movie. I hope it does well for you.
Thank you.
All right, that was Courtney Solomon, the director of An American Haunting. And the movie's been out, and some people have had a chance to check it out, as we have. We got a caller who called in at 1-800-FANGORIA. Kent's on the line right now. Hey, Kent, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. How you doing?
Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Queens.
Awesome. The king of Queens. So, dude, you saw American Haunting?
I did.
What'd you think?
I thought it was okay. I thought it got a little repetitive as it went on. I just thought, after a while, it was just kind of like, how many times can you watch this thing go after this little girl, this poltergeist or whatever? Yeah,
he dragged her around the room a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. And after a while, I was kind of wishing something else would happen. I
was actually, Debbie, I was hoping, because I'm an exorcist freak, so that she would start to deteriorate. Mm-hmm. But she didn't. She was kind of cute and pretty the whole movie, which, I mean, not that I want to see child abuse, but at the same time, I could have used a little bit more there. I found that I've really got I set the bar really low. I try not to, I'm not saying that, Kent, you're overanalyzing by any means. Mm-hmm. I just try to sit back and say, okay, try to enjoy it. Does it pull me in? Did it move me along? But I have heard some people also just talk about the fact that, what do you think about this? They're saying it's a documented case of death, murder or death by spirit. Mm-hmm. Yet, clearly, the guy died at the hands of his wife. Didn't he?
Right. Yeah, they said that at the end. Yep.
She poisoned him.
Yep, yeah. Yeah, they tried to explain it at the end a little bit, and I actually kind of didn't like that either. I thought it would be kind of more scary and mysterious if it really was kind of more of a poltergeist thing, Yeah, I mean, I hope the women out there getting any ideas that maybe they could poison their husbands and and then get off on death by spirit. No, I won't play that. Remember, this happened in 1802. Okay, they were burning witches at the stake back then. This is different times. All right, we do have to take another break. We'll be back. What are we going to do when we get back, Deb? Do you know?
We have the amazing Angelina Diana, the medium, coming to visit us about poltergeists.
Right. So great. We could talk to her about that. She probably knows something about American Haunting. So stick around for more Fangoria Radio on Sirius Channel 120.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying times here.
Welcome back to Fangoria Radio on Sirius Channel 120. I am D. Snider with my, what are we going to call you, sidekick, co-host, partner in crime, Debbie Rochon. And with us right now is psychic medium Angelina Diana.
Mm-hmm.
And, you deal in the world of poltergeists and things like that. I want to know all about you, but we just saw an American Haunting. Do you know anything about that whole Bell Witch thing?
Well, I read a little bit about it, and I know a history of it. I know that there's a lot of different accounts that say it was PK, which is psychokinesis, which is someone actually making it happen out of fear. Sometimes that happens. There are accounts that I've gone into homes where they claim they have a spirit, but you can tell by the energy of the people living there, because I do believe that the mind can create a lot of things. And they actually create doors slamming and things flying in the air. And sometimes when there is incest and things like that, psychokinesis does happen. But there are many times when it's actually a poltergeist.
So you're saying from what you've read, they say it was a poltergeist. You think it was probably more psychokinesis?
Psychokinesis, PK all the way, as we call it in the business.
Because Debbie's always slamming doors, like with her mind and stuff.
And windows.
Which is very cool. She made me fly out of a chair yesterday, which was excellent. Give us just a little bit, a brief, history. How did you become a psychic medium?
Well, I never sought out to be one. I was a radio pro for 10 years. My grandmother used to read cards, but it scared the heck out of me. And was once doing a morning show, and the morning guy kind of teased me and said, they're not for real. And I had the job of actually booking them and psyching them, psychics for the show. And so I just went on this little journey going, are they for real?
Did you believe at that time? Or
I was on the fence. I was brought up Catholic, and it was kind of put the fear of God into me that they don't exist.
Right.
So basically, I was on the fence.
What about up front, Debbie? Are you a believer?
I am, yeah.
You are?
Because I've had experiences, really intense experiences.
Intense experiences?
Yeah, very, very.
You sick bastards. No, actually, no, I don't know where I stand. I say I'm a non-believer, but in recent years, my wife has lost some...
don't say anything, because there's a spirit in the room right now.
Very close people
so
to
don't say
her.
anything, because if you want a reading, don't say anything.
Okay.
There's someone here with us.
I can tell you who it is if you want.
Well, who is it?
Well, there's a male here, and he makes me feel like he passed from a heart attack, and it feels very much like a father figure. Is there a father figure passed for you?
No, not for me.
Okay, that's okay, but I have to be honest. He has a father-like kind of a thing, so it's almost like he wants to take care of you. He wants to make sure you're okay. So I don't know if the grandfather figure or the father figure connected to either you or your wife is passed on dad's side, but I have to tell you, there's a heart issue or a chest issue or something going on with the chest, because he's making me feel like I didn't take my medicine or I wasn't good to myself medical-wise, and he has to apologize.
Misha?
No.
Is that you? Misha? My grandfather died in 1965.
From a heart attack.
Yeah, from a heart attack.
But I have to tell you, he was really tough on your grandmother, because he's telling me that he wants to apologize to the females in his life, because he was really kind of a tough guy on the outside, but a mushball on the inside.
Maybe we should have started this show about 5 years earlier. Nana died.
Okay, but
Nana died, Misha. Tell her yourself.
Misha, what?
But I have to be honest with you. He wants to come through because he's got something to say to you. He's telling me that there's something in your life that's going on right now where there's an aspect of either you're not taking as good care of yourself or you're not listening to somebody who wants you to take the medicine.
Excuse me, is that camera working?
Hold on.
Boom! Boom! I'm not taking...
No, listen, no, not physically. Physically, you're a specimen.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for noticing.
But stress...
You're not so bad yourself.
Thank you very much. But stress-wise, somebody's on your case right now that you're not calming down. Isn't this your wife, he says?
My wife has actually been complaining about the amount of coffee I drink lately.
Okay.
Put that out of the camera range.
but don't you have high blood pressure?
No, I don't.
Okay,
I'm really good.
Okay, but just know that he's...
Or maybe I should go get it on a checkup.
I think you should go because...
Okay, but
if you're saying I'll go get a checkup, Mish.
Okay, but there's also a mother figure coming through for your wife.
Okay.
Is her mom passed?
Yes.
Okay, she's making me feel like there's a cancer connection to her, or some type of an illness that she had to have a lot of drugs in her system, because she's saying that she heard your wife when she was in the hospital. So she had the hospital passing?
My wife's, well, no.
Okay.
No, well, I mean, probably.
Well, I just need to honor the fact that was there a coma involved or that she was in and out before she passed? Because there's something that your wife had to say to her before she passed. And she's making me feel like this is going on her mind, like she know what I was thinking, did she know what I was saying? Where's the J connection to you, like J, Joyce, Johnny, JJ?
Very good, Jeanette.
Okay, who's Jeanette?
That's my wife's mom.
Okay, so that's the way she's identifying herself. Who has a birthday in November? The November birthday, November celebration.
That's Jeanette.
Okay, so that's the way she's identifying herself. Where's a family of 7 connected to her?
Family of 7?
7 people. I'm getting 7, 7, 7. So I'm going 5 kids and a parents or 7 kids altogether.
I don't know.
It could be connected to you.
I got now 7's not good for me. My wife was.
Don't say anything. You don't
say nothing.
No,
yes or no, only.
The reason why I say that is so that we protect the process and we
Yeah,
honor the fact,
I appreciate
okay?
the process.
Okay, was there something going wrong with your mother-in-law's head? Because she's making me point like I'm not clear of mind, or I had some type of an amnesia, or I was in a coma. Because she keeps on pointing to the headache, the head problem, the headache, the head problem.
She's a bit of a head case.
Okay.
No.
The only thing this means then, that could be mom talking about her daughter. Does your daughter about your wife, her daughter? Is there something going on with your wife's head right now?
Not
with
that
her head?
I know of.
Okay, for some reason she's pointing to head, and I want to honor that because there might be something.
I changed my mind. I want a happy, nice medium.
You can't change your mind. You said you wanted the
negativity.
truth.
I said I was leaving the room.
No, but it's a very positive thing because it just shows that.
Stop looking at me. Look at Rochon.
I have a head thing. I swear to God.
She's a head case.
Okay,
keep going.
But I just want to honor the fact that you. Wait a minute.
Jeanette.
Your wife has 2 sisters? Family, 3 kids? Where's the family, 3 girls for your wife?
Yes, okay.
You understand that?
Yes,
okay.
Relatives, cousins.
That's all I needed to hear. Okay. I think that's where the head thing belongs to. Who's the lawyer in your family? The legal connection?
Legal connection? Well, my wife's family was in the mafia, so they have a lot of involvement with lawyers.
I just want to honor the fact that I know we don't have a lot of time, but I want to honor the fact that mom seems to be wanting to come through for your wife. Your grandfather seems to want to be coming through for you.
Me.
What he's telling me is that he's very proud of the way that you communicate with your family. You're a family guy. He wasn't. There's something about him having this big wall in front of him that he had a difficult time saying I love you or a difficult time being there for people. He said you broke the mold. You're different. You actually took a step away from your family.
I did.
You didn't want to hear this stuff, I know.
No, they're freaking dramatic. Nobody says I love you in my family, ever.
Did I know that, though? No. So just know that that's the way he's coming through. For your wife, in the short time that
Thanks,
we have.
Mish. I enjoyed you.
I feel like there's like 2 things going on for your wife right now, career-wise. I think that she wants to either have a split or she has 2 things going on where she's not too sure which way she wants to go, or she has 2 jobs right now and she wants to get rid of one. But it's making me feel like if her mother was here, she'd be sitting in this little round kind of table. Sorry, square. I'm saying round, but she's drawing a square table for me. Looks like it has a little silver on the bottom, like those old-fashioned kitchens type of thing. And she's having a cup of coffee with her going, honey, you know you'll make the right decision. So there's some coffee talk that's going on. With
Coffee talk was big.
Important.
It was big. We're talking with Angelina Diana, psychic medium extraordinaire. I got to make sure we got to hammer your website and things like that, too, with your information.
Sure.
Tell us, where can they reach you?
www.angelinadiana.com. You can get me there, email, there's numbers there, there's everything there.
I bet if they Google you.
Google me, you can find me anywhere.
Any nude pictures in your history, anything like that?
You can ask my husband.
Okay.
You could buy them, I guess.
You want to see? You have any nude pictures of your husband?
Absolutely.
Debbie, show her.
Yeah.
Well, he would like
From
Debbie.
last night.
There's no 2 ways.
We're talking with Angelina Diana, psychic medium. You can go to her website, Google her, go to angelinadiana.com.
Yeah.
Find out all about her. I'm Dee Snider, Debbie Rochon. It's Fangoria Radio on Sirius Channel 120. Taking a break, coming back with the legendary, dare I say legendary, Tony Timpone, editor-in-chief, I can tell you, the Dark Lord. Satan himself will be gracing us, telling us about the world of horror when we return. So stick around.
How can I learn you? How can I read you? How can I think you? And I can out-philosophize you. And I'm gonna outlast you.
Fangoria Radio, Sirius Channel 120. I'm Dee Snider with Debbie Rochon. And joining us now, and I know I told you he was very terrifying to look at, But he was kind enough to take on a kinder, gentler visage. Tony Timpone, editor-in-chief of Fangoria magazine. Hey, Tony, how's it going?
All right, guys, everything's A-okay.
In hell.
I think people might expect that, the editor of Fangoria, the premier horror magazine, would be a little more threatening and intimidating. What do you think about that?
Well, it depends on who you ask.
I mean, because, you've been working, how long have you been working Fangoria magazine now?
It was my first job out of college, so that makes it 21 years.
Wow.
Yeah. I went from Dad's Deli to Fangoria magazine.
And your introduction to Fangoria, was it up and running already? I mean,
yes, the magazine.
Guy came in and got a sandwich and said, "Hey kid, how'd you like to run a magazine for me?"
Not too far far from the truth. I was behind the deli counter, and the call came in from Starlux saying, "Hey, Tony, we're interviewing for Fangoria. Do you want to come in? Okay, let me finish making the sandwich. I'll be right there."
What kind of sandwich
it's been
was
like
it?
21 years.
So right now with now Fangoria Radio, Fangoria TV, becoming so much growth in Fangoria. Did you ever envision this happening?
No, back then it was just a magazine, and it was sort of the ugly stepchild to Starlog, our science fiction magazine. So, and there were times where, Fangoria, before I started, where the circulation was kind of on shaky ground, and they were thinking of canceling it. And then when the horror boom kicked in, forget it. We rode that wave in the 80s with all the big slasher films, and then this, the Scream phenomena started in the 90s, and now forget it. Every weekend, a new horror film opens up. It's number one. I have trouble deciding on what to put on the cover because there's so much competition. Back in the early 90s, I used to pull my hair out. What am I going to put on the cover of Fangoria this month? What direct-to-video movie was due? It was tough. It was slim pickings. But now horror's hotter than ever, and being at Fangoria and seeing this wave, and riding this wave, it's been very exciting.
Well, the reason we have Tony here, besides, he runs Fangoria magazine, is because who better to bring us up to speed with the latest news and the latest in the world of horror than Tony Timpone? I mean, the man himself. But Deb, I do have one problem.
What?
No offense, Tony. His voice isn't very intimidating.
No.
I just would kind of like to hear this week in all. Yeah, something. Maybe in the future, TJ, can we look into a harmonizer maybe to put on Tony's voice, just so he sounds a little more demonic when he does the news? Not right now, just for a future show.
You just need the Darth Vader. The Darth Vader.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
This week in horror. Just something a little darker. So what's going on, Tony?
Oh well. Wes Craven's a busy guy. We were interviewing him for a future episode of Screamography, so he gave me the scoop on his Hills Have Eyes sequel. He already remade the movie once, and now he's doing a sequel to the remake. And he just produced the remake, but now he's actually writing the sequel with his son Jonathan. Yeah, and it sounds pretty cool. They're going to introduce new mutants, mutant characters, because a few of them got killed in the last one. And this time, a National Guardsman on training duty run afoul of the killer mutant clan.
Did he make any mention of possibility of remaking his first, I believe it was his first entry, Last House on the Left, which is a truly disturbing, sick movie. Isn't that one in like the Smithsonian or in some, it's been recognized?
Yeah, I think it's in the Museum of Modern Art.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Do you remember that movie?
Oh, I loved it. As a matter of fact, I just did a film where a line in the movie that was a tribute. They said, literally, some dialogue. I said, "Oh, where do you live?" He said, "I'm the last house on the right." And, of course, it was a comedic tribute to the movie.
Yeah, Wes and Sean Cunningham, who produced the original Last House on the Left, are getting together and trying to get a remake up and running. Wow. They had a meeting at New Line Cinema about setting it up there. It's just some tangled rights issues to work out, but that'll be remade, especially with torture films being so popular right now. That's the granddaddy of all, torture films. So he's got that going, and he also has an original thriller that he's doing called Bug, that he's going to write and direct, and it's a thriller set in a high school in which the students are spying on each other. The bug of the title is surveillance equipment. So it's sort of like the conversation with kids.
He seems to be, and it's not a bad thing, but he seems to be getting into more, not so much horror as terrifying situations, or just like that. What was the one the plane? Red Eye,
yeah.
which I enjoyed, but it wasn't his traditional fare.
No.
He wants to experiment with different things. He hopes to have another Music of the Heart in him before he calls it a day. But he's still happy doing horror films. He's producing a number of horror films, and I suppose he'll direct a real hardcore horror film one more time.
Yeah, well, it's worked for him so far. We're talking with Tony Timpone, the editor of Fangoria magazine. What else we got going on?
Well, there's going to be a 4th Reanimator movie. Yes.
Reanimator. I love that. It was one of the few full moon pictures I really liked.
Right. That's because they didn't make it in-house.
And is Jeffrey Combs starring in it?
Yeah, Jeffrey Combs will be back there talking to Bruce Abbott, getting him back.
Wait a minute. He's going to stop working on that cure for cancer?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. That's
This
great
is better.
to come back and do the Reanimator because he had so much going on. Sorry, dude.
The original team is back. Stuart Gordon is going to direct it. He didn't do the last 2 sequels, so they got him back. It's called House of Reanimator, and the best thing, it's set in the White House.
Oh, nice.
And, yes, and there's a lot of political subtext to it. The president is closely modeled after George Bush in this one. Easy target, of course. And the president dies in office, so, the chief of staff...
They reanimate him?
They call in Herbert West to reanimate the president.
So he died in office. It was a fantasy, too, huh? Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
So actually, they want to do 3 more Reanimators, a new trilogy, and after House of Reanimator, they have like Island of
I hear they're
Reanimator.
bringing Peter Jackson in to direct those.
Yeah.
The Island of Reanimator.
It's going to be a Dr. Moreau kind of Reanimator
Wow.
movie. So they really they're going to bang them out. So they're selling them at Cannes this month. So Usner has that, the producer Brian Usner. He also has a Killer Grizzly movie that he's doing called Sprawl. And then he's doing a Poltergeist movie called Everdark. And Brian Usner is one of the most the busiest producers, internationally. He did a whole bunch of movies in Spain, and he's got this big slate of films.
Now, one of the things that we like to talk about is This Week in Horror History. And, every week we can recognize certain great movies that came out in the past. What movies were released this week in horror? Is that on here? Am I looking at the wrong thing?
No, you're right.
Yeah,
you're
I'm looking at the right thing.
right.
Yeah. Do you know this one or I don't? Then Debbie, you tell him and he'll react.
Yeah. Okay. Do you guys remember This Week in Horror History when 30 years ago on June 25th, The Omen opened?
Mm-hmm. I remember it vividly. Yeah, I remember begging my parents that I was too young to see an R-rated film. I was only 13, and for weeks and weeks I begged my parents, "You got to take me to see this movie. I can't get in any other way." So we went to see the movie. My sister was hiding behind the chair, and after the film was over, my dad was parting my hair looking for the 360s.
And he found them, and that's why you became the editor of Fangoria.
Nobody look up here. What disturbed me about that movie, it was based on the prophecy, So there again, it was that reality or sort of reality, but it was based on. This is in the Old Testament or New Testament or whatever. So it just had a cooler edge to it. What else you got?
24 years ago, on June 25th, The Thing opened, the 1982 version of The Thing.
Very underrated.
Yes.
And when it first came out, the critics hated that film, and it bombed because it was following in the footsteps of E.T. and all these nice alien movies, Close Encounters, and people did not embrace that film. They had a terrible ad campaign, and pretty much the failure of that film ruined John Carpenter's career. He really couldn't. He lost a lot of clout. After that film, yeah.
That had some of the most spectacular special effects in it.
Mm-hmm.
Just so insane, so over the top. And my favorite moment, of course, as people remember, is when the head detaches itself from the body and sprouts legs. And along with the guy in the movie, everybody in unison said, "You gotta be fucking kidding me." and it was just, I was saying it, and the guy's saying it, and it was just such a great moment because even John Carpenter knew this was just too beyond anything else. But that movie subsequently, I mean, it's a cult classic, isn't it?
Its reputation continues to grow. You know, they put it out on Laserdisc, on DVD, and it shows up at revival houses on a regular basis. And the fans, that's the one film, it seems like, you ask fans, what's your favorite? Everybody talks about The Thing to this day. So its reputation continues to grow.
And no talk of remaking that one, huh?
Sci-Fi Channel is going to do a 4-hour remake sequel for Sci-Fi Channel. Mm-hmm. And that Frank Darabont was going to produce it, the guy who did The Green Mile and Shawshank Redemption. But it seems to have stalled. So I'm glad, because they couldn't do that right for TV.
Yeah, horror on TV, that's another conversation another day. But it doesn't really seem to work. Since The Twilight Zone and The Outer Limits, it doesn't really seem to work. But we'll talk about that some other time. What were you going to say, Debbie? I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, what year did the first Thing come out?
That was 1950.
And that is one movie that both versions are fantastic.
Yeah,
they
so
both
different.
Totally work.
And I actually knew the guy who was the Thing. Now, who was the Thing in the first movie?
James Arness.
Oh, no, that's the wrong guy. Okay, I didn't know James Arness.
He lied to you.
I lied.
He said he was the Thing.
It was another early movie. And we want to talk just about Dark Shadows.
Yes, it has a 40-year anniversary on June 27th. So 40 years ago, Dark Shadows was on TV.
Wow.
And does that have any... I mean, I could care less about that thing.
A lot of suburban housewives really dug that show.
Yeah.
There's a huge, cult following for the show, though. I mean, they have conventions dedicated just to that show. Yeah. But Tony is not digging it, because look at him, he's...
Yeah,
when I was a kid,
you won't see me and Tony there.
No, you guys won't be there.
We won't be at the Dark Shadow, but enjoy it. Hey, and what I always love is I'm going to get some emails or something sent to Fangoria Radio, .com or a phone call right now saying, was Dee bashing this or that, the other thing? And I always say to people, is Dark Shadows cult following suffering because I'm not a fan? Don't worry about it. You'll still have your conventions and everybody will be happy. I don't like the Grateful Dead either. It hasn't hurt them one bit. Okay, they're dead and they're still selling stuff. So, all right, we got to take a break. Tony, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you again next week with more news. And we're going to work on that harmonizer for your voice because you got to look a little more evil, sound more evil and stuff. We're going to work on, and you have no skulls on.
Not one.
Yep. Wait a minute. No skull. What about underpants, anything? Disappointed! All right, this is Fangoria Radio. I'm Dee Snider. Debbie Rochon's with me. I want to thank Tony Timpone for stopping by. We'll see him again next week. He'll be sporting a much deeper, scarier voice and some skulls and be scary looking. Tony, work on that. This is Fangoria Radio. If you want to call us, it's 1-800-FANGORIA, and the website is fangoriaradio.com. It's as simple as that. We're going to take a break. We come back. Well, we're going to play a little game because, Debbie, it is my firm belief that Robert Englund is the center of the entertainment universe. That's right.
The center of the universe.
The center of the entertainment. You can link anybody in the entertainment industry, not just horror, anybody, within 6 degrees. You heard of 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon? We come back. It's 6 degrees of Robert Englund on Fangoria Radio, Sirius Channel 120. Stick around.
I am eternal.
Fangoria Radio on Sirius Channel 120. I'm Dee Snider with Debbie Rochon. And you know what that means? You know what that little poem, little girls talking, Debbie, you know what that means? What we're going to do now?
Mathematics?
I was told there'd be no math. Actually, no, 6 degrees of Robert Englund. Now, you're out there saying, well, what the hell's that? You've heard of 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Some college guys devised or came up with the idea that somehow Kevin Bacon could be linked to everybody in the entertainment industry. I beg to differ. He is not Kevin Bacon, and I like Kevin very much, but he's not the center of the entertainment universe. It is Robert Englund.
All right, Freddie is.
Yes, the Boris Karloff of our generation.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And we can link Robert Englund to anybody in the entertainment world.
Anybody.
Anybody. But maybe we'll just keep it into the world of horror right now. You know, a little bit more of the horror angle since this is Fangoria Radio and it's dedicated to the world of horror. So if you call into 1-800-FANGORIA, we will link. And actually, if you could stump me, if you can find someone I cannot link them to, you will get a Fangoria T-shirt, which I don't have to hold up. This is the point you're supposed to go and hold one up for the people watching on Fangoria
right.
TV.
And we'll make that later.
But as you might imagine, it's got a skull like this on it, and it's very cool. Debbie, let's take a call. Who do we got?
Okay, I think we have Bill from Baltimore.
All right, Fangoria?
Yes, Fangoria Radio. How you doing, Bill?
I'm great. How are you guys?
We're doing great. This is awesome just to have a show for what we love most, horror, the world of horror. And give me somebody you think I can't connect Robert Englund to.
Well, I'm thinking, because of your co-host there, I'm thinking that the person is her predecessor, Brink Stevens.
Who the hell's that? Who's Brink Stevens?
Scream Queen.
Scream Queen.
Okay.
Did a lot of movies in the 80s, 90s.
Another brunette.
Well, give me a movie. I probably know her by her breasts, but I don't know her by
The
name.
Haunting Fear.
Sorority Babes in the Slimeball Bowl-orama.
Yeah, Sorority Babes in the Slimeball Bowl-orama.
Okay.
Does that help?
Okay.
Slumber Party Massacre.
All right, well, Fortune, Slumber Party. Oh, Slumber Party Massacre.
Yeah.
Oh, that Brink Stevens.
Yes.
I got it confused with the Saint.
She used to work
Brink
a lot
Stevens.
with Linnea Quigley, Michelle Bauer, these women. Is that ringing a bell?
Yes, well, actually, no, but I know I've seen them in the movies, okay? Debbie, I know you, and that's all that matters. I don't care about anybody else. There's only one Scream Queen in my world. That's Debbie Rochon.
And I have a gun on him, yeah.
Okay, so let's see. I think now I can link it to her, all right? Okay. Robert Englund, I can connect in 2 degrees to Brink Stevens, okay? Wow. Robert was in Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master, right? Mm-hmm. With Linnea Quigley. Yes. Linnea Quigley was in Naked Monster, The Naked Monster, with Brink Stevens. Ha! Woo! 2 degrees! No T-shirt for you!
No T-shirt?
I'm the T-shirt. Be gone. I'm the T-shirt Nazi. I don't give away T-shirts easily. All right, let's take another call. Thanks for the call. Who we got on the line?
We have Natalie from Florida.
Hey, Natalie. How you doing? This is D.
Hi, Dee. How are you?
I'm doing great. Welcome to Fangoria Radio and Fangoria TV.
Why, thank you.
And so I think you can stump me. Who do you got?
Who do I got? I am thinking Joan Crawford.
Joan. You think Joan would like? I'm just hypothesizing. You think she'd be like pleased to know that we regard her as like a horror character? I mean, that people view her that way.
I think she would be happy.
You think so?
As long as she was remembered. She had a very big ego.
No wire hangers.
No wire hangers!
You know what? Me and my brothers and sisters, we watched that movie, and we were laughing. We thought, wire hangers? Luxury. We dreamed of being beaten with a wire hanger. Jeez. My father was using 2x4s. Okay, Natalie, I don't think you're going to get a T-shirt, honey, because I can link Robert Englund to Joan Crawford. 2 degrees!
No.
2. That's right.
2?
I'm telling you, he's a set. I mean, that's not even a challenge. Robert Englund was in a movie called Chud 2. Remember that? He was Bud the Chad with Robert Vaughn, okay?
Okay.
Robert Vaughn was in The Caretakers with Joan Crawford. No T-shirt for you!
Hey.
Sorry, Natalie.
Wow.
Sorry, it's a tough room. It's a tough room.
That is tough.
Keep listening to Fangoria Radio. Thanks for the call.
Right, thank
we
you.
have time for one more call?
Yes.
Okay, let's go to the phones.
We have Joan from Wayne, New Jersey.
Hey, Joe. How's it going, bro?
Oh, it's going terrific. How are you?
Good. Wayne, New Jersey, man. I remember playing in a club in Wayne called Mothers.
Oh, wow. It's gone, but it's a park and ride now.
Yeah. Deb, you smell my hair, you can smell the club in it still. Man, that was a haul. Anyway, Joe, we're playing 6 Degrees of Robert Englund. I can link anybody in the entertainment, the horror world to Robert Englund in 6 or less degrees. Try and stump us.
Oh, you'll never get this. Link Lon Chaney Sr.
Oh, senior. He
Gee.
threw you a curve with senior.
Oh, not junior? Senior. Oh, okay. Gee, I don't know if I could possibly... 3 degrees! Ha! I say... Okay, you ready for this, Joe? Robert Englund was in the last of the Cowboys with Dub Taylor. You remember Dub, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Debbie dated Dub for a short time back in 92.
I did.
I know, but he was too good looking.
Yeah, exactly. Well, everybody's... Well, never mind. Dub was in Anti-Mame with Fred Kelsey, who was in the Unholy Three with Lon Chaney.
Oh, my God.
3 degrees. But you know what? We don't have any
You're
time.
incredible.
It's not me. It's Robert Englund, everybody. I'm just doing his work. But you know what? Because you had the you gave us 3 degrees. That was the best so far. We're going to give you a T-shirt, okay?
Oh, I'd love it.
So hang on the line. They'll pick up the phone. They'll get your address and everything. Fangoria Radio, Fangoria TV T-shirt. It's 6 degrees, 3 degrees, 6 degrees of Robert Englund. Maybe we have to make it less degrees because it's too easy in future weeks. But we'll be doing more of that next week. And you can mail them in, send them to the website. And do we have a web address? Is it just go to FangoriaRadio.com? Go there and click on a link and send us. And next week we'll do more 6 degrees of Robert Englund. What's coming up next, Debbie?
We have the one and only Adam Green, director of Hatchet.
Yes, everybody's going, who? That's because he's an up-and-coming new director. It's an indie horror film, and I think it's good to talk to indie filmmakers because that's where the great horror films all started. We were talking about Wes Craven earlier. I mean, Last House on the Left was an indie film. That was no big budget. Trust me. That was a very poor prosthetic from a man's penis that they spat on the floor. Can I say that on the air? I just did. It's Fangoria Radio. Debbie Rochon's with me. I'm Dee Snider. We'll be back. Sirius, Channel 120. Don't forget that, okay? Stick around.
Red rum. 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 Red rum.
Welcome back to Fangoria Radio on Sirius Channel 120. Channel 120. Carve that in your forehead backwards so you see it in the mirror. Okay, every Sunday night from 9 to midnight, live. Fangoria Radio is here for all the horror fans. Dee Snider with Debbie Rochon by my side. My partner in crime.
I got your back.
Yeah, this is working out good, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like your back.
I got to tell you something. Okay. Adam, just hold your water. When they first told me, they asked me to do this gig, and they said, we're going to hook you up with a Scream Queen, I kind of freaked because I work with some, and I've not been very impressed. But I said, I don't know, Mike. I said, Mike's our producer. I said, the only one that I thought had anything going on was Debbie Rochon. And he said, and that's the truth, people. I'm not making that up because otherwise I just wouldn't say it. And he said, well, that's who we wanted to work with you. So you're good. You're good. You're
Thank
good.
You. And, really quickly, I have to tell you my story. When Mike told me about the show, he said that I was going to be on with someone from Twisted Sister. And I said, now, if it could be Dee Snider, then we have something going. No one else will do.
It's the drummer. It's the drummer. Okay, enough. We got to get Adam Green, director, writer, indie film Hatchet, which hopefully will soon be in theaters, is on the phone. Hey, Adam, how's it going, man?
It's going great, Dee. How are you?
Doing great. Adam and I have met, and we've hung out a little bit together, and we have a very interesting history, Debbie. And before we get into the movie Hatchet, and really, Adam, the reason I think it's important that Fangoria Radio focus on the world of indie horror filmmaking, because this is where the great new franchises, the great new horror films will always come from. They always have. And, horror's been very oppressed, Debbie, and we have to start in the trenches with indie films, and I'm an indie filmmaker myself. But Adam, even though this is self-serving, could you tell a little bit of the story of how you've got to make Hatchet and how we came to meet each other?
Absolutely. I'm I'm going to try to keep this as short as I can because there's like a 3-hour version of this. But
which I would just love to hear. Maybe you just put it on tape so I can listen in the privacy of my own home. Continue.
Okay. I was about 8 years old, and my grandmother decided that she was going to buy me a boombox for my birthday, even though I really wanted Battle Armor He-Man. And
thank you for not saying Ghetto Blaster, because that would not be PC. Continue.
And she said, what tape should I get you? And there on MTV was Twisted Sister. I'm like, I want them. And she said, absolutely not. She's like, pick something else. I'm like, no, I want them. And she got me You Can't Stop Rock and Roll. And I listened to the thing until it wouldn't play anymore. And eventually the tape ended up breaking, and I buried it in my backyard. And what I took from that was...
Well, that's what you do with tapes when they break, Debbie. What have you been doing with yours? Throwing them in the garbage can? Proper burial, please.
And what I really took from it was just the message of how you can do anything you want if you're willing to work for it. Nobody can stop you. And there's just so much positive stuff out of that, where all the other bands that I was hearing at the time, it was just sex, drugs, and, makeup. And in fourth grade, we had to do a report on the most influential person in our life, and every kid did the safe bet of their mom or their dad, and I did Dee Snider.
Oh.
And,
I'm getting all choked up.
We're crying here. We're crying.
Oh, it gets so much better.
It does. I've heard this story, but I can't hear it too many times. Continue.
And so the teacher, when I stood up and I had the picture, it was the cover of Stay Hungry, and she said, sit down, you're trying to be funny. I said, no, I'm not. Hear me out. I'm like, this guy's not a drug addict. This guy's not this. He's not that. And, I did the whole speech, and I got my first A+. And so fast forward to college, I'm going to school at Hostel University on Long Island, and I heard that Widowmaker was going to be playing a show in Rhode Island. And I got in the car, and I drove, 4 hours or 3 hours, and I hand wrote this letter to Dee, just thanking him for what a positive influence he was in my life, telling him someday I was going to make movies, and I would hang out with him at some bigwig party someday. And I got to the show about 4 hours before it started, and I pressed myself against the glass because I wanted to be the first one in to throw this letter on the stage.
And remember, we look kind of like Garfield on those car windows, pressed against the glass.
Exactly what I looked like. And in the reflection of the glass, I happened to see Dee walk by me, and he was going to get something to eat, and I ran over and I handed him the letter. Couldn't really say much. It's just funny because I don't really get starstruck, and you'd think it would be over some a supermodel or something, but I was going to start crying and everything. It was a very weak display on my part. But he took the letter and he said that he would read it, and when he came out to do the show, it was, I'm sure a lot of people think this when they go to see Dee perform. You always think he's performing just for you, and it's just like getting the high fives and putting the mic in my face and letting me sing. And at the end of the show, he acknowledged the letter. He dedicated the last song to me, which was Wild One. And I thought it would never get better than that. But 3 months later, I got a letter from him thanking me for the letter I wrote him, which I'm actually looking at right now. It's framed over my computer in my office.
Wow.
And he said, yeah, I will see
I got
you
one, too. I wrote it to myself.
To yourself, yeah.
I'm sorry, I just got to joke around because this is so self-serving. It's insane. But tell them the good part. Tell them the good part when I inspire you some more into your filmmaking career.
Exactly.
So I got out of college and I got a job making really bad cable commercials in Boston, and I was stealing their equipment at night to make my own stuff. And I made a short film where Jason and Michael Myers stalked the same campsite by mistake, and then they're gay. And I just started...
Excuse me?
Excuse
me,
was
you
that,
ate some words there.
Was that a gay?
Yeah, they're gay. And it was...
I always wondered about that.
Well, it was just kind of
you just seemed a little too macho, Jason. Just a little too,
trying
over
too hard.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's what the words I was looking for. Trying too hard. The mask, the hat.
They don't like
the machete.
heterosex.
Yeah. And there's always chopping up the cute chicks. You know what I mean? Okay, continue. Okay, that's a good observation. Continue.
Well, the tape ended up getting bootlegged all over the place, and I got a call from somebody at United Talent Agency out in Hollywood, and they said I should come out and meet. And I flew to Hollywood, and came to UTA, and nobody actually spoke to me, and nobody wanted to talk to me. And I'm standing on the Sunset Strip, and I'm just cursing this place. I'm like, I'm never coming back here. This place sucks. It's everything they said it would be. And I look up, and there's this sign that says, tonight at 7, get twisted with Dee Snider from Twisted Sisters, signing copies of Strangeland. So,
actually, I got to confess, Adam, I've been stalking you.
I think so. That's what it seems like to me.
Where's Adam now? He's in Hollywood. Quick, arrange a signing.
And I cut the whole line of kids. I'm like, look, he's my friend. I have to talk to him. This is important. And I got in, and he actually remembered me when I saw him, and I gave him my short film. And what was really funny is when I said, I'm like, oh, I made this short film, and people said they wanted to talk to me, and I came here, and nobody did. And he said, well, can I have a copy of it? And I handed it to him, and he said, no, autograph that. And he had me sign it, which I thought was really funny because he's signing Strangeland, which, by the way, the only way to get in was to buy a DVD of Strangeland. I was so poor at the time, there was no way I was ever going to be able to buy a DVD player, but I had the Strangeland DVD for about a year before.
I didn't know they were doing that to people. Actually, I'm saving your autographed, that thing you did. I'm going to sell it on eBay when you're like really famous. But go ahead.
And so I went home, and I was all inspired, and I'm like, now I'm going to make a feature. And I started stealing the equipment again, and with nothing more than $400 and some of my friends, even using pizza boxes for flags on the 3 lights I had, I made a feature called Coffee and Donuts. And halfway through shooting it, I came in one morning trying to return the equipment, and my boss caught me. And he said, you can't do this, and we'll prosecute if you keep taking the stuff. I had a very cool boss. He knew what I was doing, but I was definitely out of line. And I went that night to see a Poison concert. See, Time Warner had this luxury box at Greatwood, and it was for clients who advertised on the cable network. And all the shows that none of the clients wanted to go to, like Slayer, Megadeth, I always got the box. So I'm there to see Poison, and who happened to be there but he. And he was emceeing the night. He was hosting the show. And
I told you, I'm stalking him. So every time, basically every time he was feeling down and was at a turn where he was about to give up, I happened to be there. And I really believe you have to go after your dreams. And I would just, as an Adam, I wouldn't just say that to you. I would say that to anybody. I would say to Debbie, don't give up here. Believe in yourself. Go for this thing. And I encouraged him. And finally, you broke through when you got your first deal. Who was that with for the Coffee and Donuts thing?
Oh, Coffee and Donuts. We ended up, Dee told me, go back, steal the equipment, finish it. I finished it. We won a film festival. I got signed by UTA, and then Disney Touchstone bought the movie to turn into a sitcom for UPN that I wrote. In the end, it ended up not being urban enough for UPN, and I don't know who didn't see that coming, but I didn't. And
well, first of all, you called it a boombox.
It should have been a ghetto blaster.
See, you got your lingo. You don't have the lingo down. but everything is led to the movie Hatchet. And I just want to say that Adam told me that somebody's actually suggested that maybe make a movie about this trip he's taken where, and I've inspired him along the way, but I know I'll be replaced by a puppet voiced by Frank Oz. I'll be saying, make movies, you will. It won't be even me. We can't have Dee Snider. He's not well enough. We got a puppet. And Frank Oz is going to do the voice. It'll be great.
I'm already developing it. We're gonna switch it around to make it more funny. I think it's going to start like an inspirational thing, but then turn into. We're still working on it, but I'm doing it with the guys who did the American Pie movies. So that is actually something that we're working on.
I can't believe that. All right, We're talking with Adam Green, an upcoming director, writer. He's got a movie called Hatchet, which has not yet been publicly released, but we had a chance to see it at Tribeca. And, I mean, it really is, let's talk about Hatchet a little bit. It really is back to the old school. It is horror the way God intended it. Or somebody intended it.
Basically, I'm just a fan of like the 70s, 80s style slasher films. I grew up on Friday the 13th and Halloween and stuff like that. And I think that we've sort of lost the way in between now and then where horror sort of lost the fun of the mythology of a villain that you're both afraid of, but at the same time you're sort of cheering for. Like when you went to see Friday the 13th, you didn't really care about whether the counselors were going to fall in love or whatever. You just wanted to see Jason show up and kill him. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the spirit of this whole thing, is to go back to that and make it fun again.
Well, let me ask Debbie about that, Adam, because I've had my own foray, and I am like to a darker kind of thing with Strangeland. But Debbie, what do you agree with Adam? I mean, that's lacking in the movies today?
I think so. And what I really enjoyed about Hatchet was actually two different things jumped out at me. One is that it's sort of kind of maybe in a way based on a true story from Louisiana, sort of an urban legend. Is that right?
Well, that's what we tried to make people believe. I actually
the urban legend doesn't exist?
Adam
No, I
started
made it
the
up.
urban legend.
I started it when I was
man.
8. Yeah.
I don't know. Now I have to rethink this whole thing.
Well,
But
four things jumped out at me. It was your two lead actresses' breasts, actually.
There was a lot of jumping in the movie. I really love the humor. And I think,
Yeah.
the exploitation angle and come on, Bayou Beaver. I mean, that's just, I love that.
Yeah, that's one thing I thought you did better and more of than these classic 70s. You really pumped up the humor, but not so much you were laughing at the hatchet murders, but you were enjoying the conversations. You really took that to a new level, Adam.
Well, thank you. That was the main goal, and even in writing it, it was to try to say, like, it's not a horror movie, write it like a real movie, and then put the horror stuff back in it again. Because a lot of those movies, like if you watch any of the sequels to Nightmare on Elm Street or whatever, they never really cared very much about the script, and these poor actors got stuck having to say lines that there was no good way
Debbie
to
knows
say
nothing about that.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
I'm sure
I
you know
do
what I'm
not.
No gratuitous breasts in any of Debbie's movies.
No breasts, no gratuitous lines, showers, flagging down helicopters with your shirt. I haven't done any of that stuff.
All right, Debbie, you're in the wild, and you're taking a shower. And you look and you see the monster, or you say, look, a monster.
And you try to keep it away from you by taking your shirt off and throwing it at the monster.
And action. Hey, you know what? I'm sure, this is Fangoria Radio. There are a lot of aspiring filmmakers out there in the horror world, and you are going through a process that I've been through. And here you got a decent budget, well, for a horror film to make Hatchet. You got into the Tribeca Film Festival, which was an achievement in and of itself. And now you're suffering through trying to get that distribution, find that deal. How is that going for you?
It's funny, like, I'm the last person to know about that stuff, it seems. There's the investors who finance the film, and they own it. It's their deal. And they have their lawyers who are the ones negotiating the deal. And now there's just this whole game that's being played. And I'm very new to this, and I'm kind of learning firsthand how it goes. And the whole goal is every distributor wants to try to buy it for as little as possible and then decide what they're going to do with it. And in order to get somebody to commit to the type of release that we want, somebody's got to step up to the plate and be afraid that they're going to lose it and make that offer. And I mean, we already have offers, and the word theatrical has now been said, so we're very confident.
Oh, good.
But it's you never know. I mean, you look at some of these movies, and I don't, because I don't know who we're going to end up with. I don't want to name anybody. But like some of these places, they pick up movies and then they just throw them out, or they shelve them, or they buy them because they have something similar in development that they already spent a lot of money on, and they just don't want this as competition, so they'll buy it and destroy it.
It's not pretty, Adam. I'm dealing with some of that with a sequel to Strangeland, and I've got people who want to make a straight-to-DVD sequel and hand over fist, and I'm going, no, I want a theatrical release on this thing. I don't, just because it doesn't have any real value. It just becomes just another box on the damn shelf, So, well, I'm glad to hear that things, are starting to happen with it, and I really hope that Hatchet makes it to the screen. And you sound like you need a little encouragement right now, so I'm here to tell you, continue the struggle, you will. And give up, you mustn't. Okay? And because I think people will really enjoy Hatchet, and I look forward to having you back on Fangoria Radio to talk about more films. I know you got another movie coming out, Spiral.
Yes.
That's in post-production right now?
Yes, it'll be done in about 3 weeks.
Okay, so, and you told me you're working on a movie with Amanda Bynes. See, she's not a one-note horn. He also does comedy and things like that as well, right? You have an Amanda Bynes film you're about to shoot?
Well, we actually don't. Her deal is not done yet, because now there's this other movie, which this is all stuff I'm not supposed to be talking about, that she might have to do instead. So we might have to either push to wait for her, or we don't know. We're going to find out next week.
Well, just for what it's worth, Debbie can play 15. She really can.
Oh, I'm telling you.
She can play 15.
With no surgery.
Amanda Schmanda. She should let Debbie Rochon get in there and star in your next picture. Adam, thanks for calling into the show, and we'll talk to you again in the future, my brother from another mother. All right, this is Fangoria Radio. We'll be back with more on Sirius Channel 120. What's up next, Debbie? I'm sorry.
Mr. Voltaire with the World of God.
Oh, yeah. Okay, get my taser. We'll be back.